And just like that, the XRP bull run continues. Folks, it is the Monday after Mother's Day. I hope it was a blessed weekend for you and your family. We're looking at May 12, 2025. Inflation data coming out tomorrow. Let's watch out for that one. That might give us a little hurdle to jump across as we continue this XRP bull run, while Bitcoin is actually bleeding out today. Bitcoin coming back down, while XRP continuing with massive amounts of momentum behind it. Let's get right on into the update. Everything's at ZachRector.com. I appreciate you for stopping by. Just like that, 2 trillion added at the market open this morning in the stock market. The reason why I want to point this out here is to note, I talk about the XRP market cap multiplier, how we don't need to see trillions of dollars come into XRP for that market cap of XRP to go into the trillions, right? It's going to be a fraction of that to get XRP into the market cap, a trillion, 2 trillion, 3 trillion. Well, in a similar fashion here, another example, 2 trillion added to the stock market this morning. We did not have 2 trillion of inflows into our stock market, right? So this once again exemplifies my point that folks are misunderstanding how to apply market cap to their analysis. And what we found by looking at this data, creating our equation, applying it to XRP and other digital assets, this once again shows us how easy it's going to be to see XRP at these high price targets. So just understand that. Very important. Another thing that we have to consider right now, you have the treasury bonds. The yield on those have been climbing up. So while we're getting trade deals signed, while we're adding trillions back to the stock market, there's 6 trillion of short-term debt that Secretary Janet Yellen dumped on this administration that has to be rolled over this year. This is a ticking time bomb. When we add this to the global debt, which soared over 7.5 trillion in the first quarter of this year to a record 324 trillion. Hence why we say it's a debt, currency, and liquidity crisis. Emerging markets accounted for 50% of the jump, with the total EM debt, that's emerging market debt, hitting a record 106 trillion. China was the primary driver of the debt increase, with debt levels rising by 2 trillion. Over the last 2 years, total world debt has surged by a whopping 20 trillion. Meanwhile, the global debt to GDP ratio fell slightly to 325%, the lowest since 2020. However, the ratio for emerging markets hit a record 245%. The debt crisis is a global issue. Why am I pointing this out? Zach, it's green candle day, it's bullish day. Well, yeah. This data point is only going to add to those green candles. Why? Because they can't default, or if they do default, that's one way out. That's going to be a big problem. But the most common answer to a debt crisis like this is to inflate and print their way out, to debase the value of the currency, sacrifice the currency to pay back or manage the debt. That's why these green candles that you're seeing right now are far from being over, and they're going to get a lot bigger. So stay locked in with us. Let's go. Now we're looking at crypto. The SEC Crypto Task Force Roundtable will discuss tokenization today at 1 p.m. Eastern with BlackRock, Fidelity, NASDAQ, and more. SEC Chair Paul Atkins will deliver a keynote speech on asset tokenization. That's taking place today. Last week, the big one that came out was the SEC publicly acknowledging that they're folding their hand in the Ripple XRP case. It's over. It's done with. A final few, basically 2 or 3 court filings probably, and then this case is officially over. Now, the flip side, what are we seeing? Not only are we not fighting and we're not going to attack entrepreneurs, capitalists, and builders within this country, but now we're bringing in the TradeFi suits so we can make sure that they're ready to go and they can now shill us and sell it for us, which I'm here for. Like I've been saying, I don't need to sell XRP or any of these digital assets to, hype up XRP or sell it to more people. I will, and I will contribute to that. But right alongside me is going to be the suits from BlackRock, Fidelity, NASDAQ, and others. The suits will be selling it with slideshow presentations, and they're taking it right to the SEC today. Now, this is where I get concerned, though, when I look at the cryptocurrency space. It's not, up forever for everybody, right? This is not everybody gets a participation trophy. While we're watching XRP pump and continue the bull run today, Bitcoin is bleeding out. And I really worry that we could see another bubble forming with these public companies that are raising money to buy Bitcoin. Now, think about this for a second. What value is being added or produced? What product or service is being produced? What value is being added by raising debt to buy another instrument that's been propped up by funny money, essentially, right? There is no value creation. Yet we're seeing more and more of these public companies do this. And I think that it's going to end very, very ugly, specifically for Bitcoin. This is the newest one. David Bailey and his holding company Nakamoto raised $710 million and announced a merger with Kinley MD to establish a Bitcoin treasury. Now, the problem is that these guys are so levered up. I can't speak specifically to this company, but when you look at Michael Saylor and the path that he has laid, way over levered, right? They're not producing cash. They're not even really creating value, and they just continue to double down and double down. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it might be a Ponzi scheme. I mean, that's what we're looking at right here, right? And they're not the only one. You're seeing more and more of these companies pile in here. I think that this is going to end very, very bad for Bitcoin specifically. Now, speaking of the Bitcoin bros, we got Jason Williams. This is the guy that called me an autistic nerd a couple weeks ago, and that's okay. Usually when they resort to name calling, it's because they can't argue the facts. They can't argue the premise of the debate, right? So they resort to name calling, and I don't mind being called whatever. That's fine. The numbers speak for themselves. While XRP has continued to outperform Bitcoin since the election and will continue to outperform Bitcoin for the rest of the cycle. And so leave it to the Bitcoin bros to still, despite the bashing and slandering of XRP, they also use XRP to hype. And that would be Jason AI Williams sharing the news from Missouri. And he's sharing this a little bit late. We covered this last week already. But he shares that Missouri removes capital gains tax on Bitcoin, XRP, stocks, and real estate. The first U.S. state to do it. No more capital gains tax on Bitcoin, XRP, stocks, and even real estate. So even though these guys bash and hate on XRP all day long, they also go to the other side. I told you guys, this is how you go viral. When you're creating crypto content, you either hate on XRP and FUD it out to death, or you hype it up to no return. And you got the Bitcoin bros who like to do a little bit of both. And note this, I saw Gemini pumping up XRP today. I've seen more and more of these exchanges, as soon as they start to have XRP available, they start, and they're rolling out new products, and you're seeing the suits are going to be doing the same thing with their ETFs. Once everybody gets their ducks in a row, then it's time to hype up XRP. When it was time to hype up XRP on the fundamentals and buy the 20-cent XRP, the 50-cent XRP, these guys were doubling down, calling Brad Garlinghouse a fraud, saying that Ripple was going to lose the case. Literally saying that the executives were going to go to jail. And that's when you should have been buying 20-cent, 50-cent XRP instead of clowning around. We see how that program's working out for them as we get massive green candles coming in on that XRP price chart. Next, Decent Wallet, Swap and Earn DAG. I wanted to share this one with you guys. I have Decent linked up down below as another community resource available for you guys. Great wallet. You can store XDC and a few other cryptos that you can't store on others. But now they have a little deal going here, a quest campaign with DAG. Swap DAG, complete quests, and claim your share of 120,000 DAG. Simple tasks, real rewards, all inside the Decent app. And the event period goes from today, and that's going to go till the 23rd of this month. And you can check up that link down below in the description of this video for Decent Wallet if you want to partake in that, or if you just want to get one of those wallets to store some of your other cryptos, XDC, DAG, and others that aren't on some of these other wallets. Great option. Now, this is what's happening in the XRP Ledger ecosystem. Despite the noise, despite the charts, the fundamentals and the builders have not stopped. Take a look here from Vet. Constant development on some upcoming XRP Ledger heavy hitters. These are big amendments that are going to explode DeFi within our ecosystem. And it's really sad that we don't have these features yet, but they're right on the way, folks. Lending and borrowing and token escrow. both getting worked on. We have new commits being put out here. And we love to see it from Dennis. I don't know who this developer is right here, but they're pushing commits on the GitHub, and they're working to bring these amendments, which will allow you to lend and borrow your XRP and other assets, and allow you to put other assets, other tokens on the XRP ledger within escrows as well. Right now, the escrow feature only works for XRP, but after this amendment goes live, you'll be able to escrow other tokens as well. So for new projects and builders launching new projects and companies, they'll be able to have their token and put it in an escrow, similar to how Ripple has been so responsible with their release and distribution of XRP. Other companies could follow in that, those footsteps by putting their tokens in an escrow as well. That feature's in demand. It's on the way. The big one, though, that I'm personally really excited about is the lending and borrowing amendment. Once that goes live, you ask the question, why would we ever even need to sell our XRP? You won't. You really won't need to. And this is all going to be decentralized in the layer 1 XRP ledger. This is not leaving to send your XRP anywhere else. This is all on chain, completely decentralized. You and the ledger, no middleman. You want to be your own bank with XRP? This is becoming a reality right now. And now's the time to prepare yourself accordingly. This is some of the classes that we are going to be talking about upcoming in our Discord group, where I'm going to be basically, showing folks, one, part of the reason why I'm playing around with the meme coins right now is just so that we get familiar with the ledger, we get familiar with the AMM. We play around with silly memes so that we can practice on how to utilize this ledger when it comes to real world assets being tokenized, us being able to leverage our XRP, us being able to, provide liquidity for these tokens. This is a very exciting time to be in the XRP ecosystem. Many people think that XRP is just, a coin that we buy, we hold, it's going to go to 10,000. There's a lot more, and you might not ever have to sell your XRP with some of the strategies that we're going to be implementing. I'm really excited about that one. Now, continuing on, David Schwartz answering a question about what he believes will drive the value of XRP in the next few years. This is from Apex 2024, and he speaks to the privileged position on the XRP ledger. And this relates back to that XRP ledger ecosystem. Oh, is RLUSD going to replace XRP? Is Ripple going to abandon XRP and create something new? No. XRP has a privileged position on the XRP ledger. Take a listen on what's going to drive the value from David Schwartz, one of 3 creators of the XRP ledger.
But our first question is around, really what's going to be driving value to XRP, particularly kind of around the cross-border and sort of more like enterprise payments and financial use cases.
Yeah, so you guys can all see the question on the screen. I think the big thing that's gonna keep XRP like in its central role is its privileged place on the XRP ledger. XRP is the only token that you can pay transaction fees in. It's the only token that every account can receive. The payment engine during pathfinding always looks for XRP liquidity first, and XRP is auto-bridged through the order book, so XRP liquidity is sort of preferentially taken over to other types of liquidity just from order crossing. So XRP is always going to have a special place as a sort of liquidity tool on the XRP ledger.
And this is very important to understand. RLUSD doesn't have that privilege. RLUSD is not the first option that the DEX automatically goes to, right? That order book and the auto bridging, it's looking for XRP liquidity first. And XRP is going to be that neutral bridge currency on the ledger. It's always going to be privileged like that. And we will not see a replacement for that. So just to clarify, this is what's going to bring the value to XRP, the token, is more and more people holding it as a reserve, and you're seeing more companies start to add it to their balance sheet as a reserve. That is going to drive down the supply of XRP that's available for liquidity, that's available for building out these liquidity pools on the XRP ledger. And this ultimately, the use of XRP is ultimately what's going to drive XRP being burned in transactions, having XRP locked up a way to create trust lines, to issue new tokens. And when you combine all these factors together, right, we start to look at XRP going to much, much higher prices. The debate is just whether we're talking about, a $20, $30 XRP over the next few years, or whether we're talking about an asset that might actually be going towards $100 or more. Some people with some big targets for XRP, and depending on how the dominoes fall, you definitely could see something like that play out. But it's very important to understand that XRP is always going to have this privileged position on the XRP ledger. Now, speaking of XRP moving a lot higher, take a look at this one from Chad Steingraber. Just a few days ago, you could buy 5 XRP for $1. Now that costs you $12, a 10x premium. So just a few years ago, 5 XRP for $1, right? When we were at 20 cents. Now that costs you $12, a 10x premium. In the not too distant future, we will see 100x from current prices. I mean, this is what I said, the debate on whether or not XRP is going to be an asset that's in the double digits, triple digits, somewhere in between. I'm here for it. Smoke Dog reminding us that XRP only needs to 20x to dethrone Bitcoin. This is documented by Wisdom Tree. So you got the suits. They're ready to sell this, but they also understand what it's going to take for XRP to dethrone Bitcoin. And they are having conversations about this. Moving over to Cassie Trades with the technical analysis update to finish off our update here this morning. She says XRP is on fire. Price is now pushing above $2.64 and rapidly reaching the major resistance at $2.69. I think I saw XRP top out at $2.66 so far this morning, so pretty close. The 236 fib retracement from the all-time high and a key level to watch for a correction. What stands out is there has been continued price increase despite low momentum and a completed 5-wave count. This slow, controlled push higher often signals strong underlying demand, strong trend, and heavy accumulation. What did we talk about yesterday? In yesterday's video, we showed you on the order books how people that were trading 100 to 1,000 XRP, they were net sellers. They were selling off. So the little fish were selling off bags of XRP. And boy, does that hurt to see when we get big green candles coming in today. You already missed an opportunity there that's pretty substantial. But we saw on the order books that people that were buying 10,000 to 50,000 XRP and people that were buying 50,000 XRP or more were net buyers. So the little fish were selling, the whales were moving in. And I want to be clear because some folks were talking about how this was the dark pools, it wasn't going to impact price. No. This is not dark pool activity. This is on the ledger. We're watching it on the order books. These are not, these are probably regular guys, institutional investors, sure. But this is not OTC dark pools. This is not anything that's hidden and not going to impact price. And we can see that reflected on the charts today, right? How those order books, those got filled up, and we just continue moving up higher here above $2.60 this morning. That's a very, very interesting point to consider. The big whales, they accumulated nearly 1 billion XRP in the month of April. When we had this big flush out, the whales were buying. Over the past, couple weeks here that we started off the month of May, the whales have continued buying. And this is all for everybody to see. This is not dark pools. This is not hidden. This is institutional OTC buying, not going to impact price. Well, if you were saying that, go check your chart this morning, please. Okay? If XRP breaks and holds above $2.69, it opens the door for an explosive move towards $3. But if this level holds as resistance again, we could see a short-term dip back to $2.30 for a reset. Either way, this is an exciting start of the week. Now, appreciate that update from Cassie Trades. I want to show you my technical analysis. This is the chart that I had shared with my Discord group on Saturday. I drew another purple box, right? And this is the first purple box that we drew back on April 26th. Discord weekly call on Saturday. We drew the purple box. That purple box got filled perfectly right up to this date, May 7th Fed meeting. Right as we expected, had our orders sitting, orders got filled. Now we move higher. Well, I drew this purple box. I marked this date, which today is our full moon, May 12th. The next date here that we got marked is May 22nd. That's when we have a few XRP spot ETFs that are due for a response from the SEC. Watch out for that one. And then we go back into a new moon on May 27th. And so I was calling for us to be moving higher after the Fed meeting into the full moon taking place today. That's exactly what happened with a massive massive green candle, taking us up to 265, 266, depending on your exchange. So it didn't take long for this purple box to get filled. I drew a fib level here and we got a 618 right at $2.71. That would be a nice little target region there. And then the 702 fib would take us back up to $2.86. Either way, that's the approach to $3 that I've been expecting for this month, and we are moving rapidly in that direction. Right now, my XRP futures contract, that long contract that I bought, is up over 70% right now. So shout out to everybody that stood with conviction, got your orders filled all during the month of April when we were below $2 for a few days, when we were hanging out right at $2. Leading into the Fed meeting, we said, yes, it's going to pull back, but don't expect it to go below $2. It didn't. Went on down to 207. We're back up above 260 with a lot of momentum behind XRP, specific catalyst to XRP. When you add it to the macro picture, we are still going a lot higher. The XRP bull run will continue. This thing is far from over. I hope that you are locked in here with us. Now, we're taking this momentum to XRP Las Vegas at the end of the month. This is a massive moment for the XRP community. So God bless all of you guys that stood this one out. I appreciate your support. On the way out, if you could like this video, I would greatly appreciate that. Everything's at zachrector.com, and we also have quick links in the description of this video as well. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you guys in the next one. God bless you all. I am your host, Zach Rector. I really appreciate all of the love and support. If you want to support the channel, just remember that you can start by smashing that thumbs up for me, sharing this content far and wide, and everything else is at my website.